This is Lieutenant Sulu of the Starship Enterprise, standing by on the bridge with the Christmas song. Chestnuts roasting on an open fire.
On the second day of Christmas, my true love gave to me. I don't even fucking know what anymore. I don't know why we're doing this, guys. It's only Tuesday. It's only day 2, and I've had it. On this episode of the Canon podcast, we're going to be talking about Star Trek Lower Decks, Season 1, Episode 2, Envoys. Original air date, August 13th, 2020. Let's get some reaction. Tyler, what did you think of the episode?
Alternate title. I watched Archer, guys. Have you seen Archer? Have you literally they stole 3 jokes from Archer in this episode. And not like the recent season of Archer. Like season 1 Archer. Also, why'd we have to bring back Ferengi stereotypes? Even the Star Trek team was like, oh, shit, we created space Jews. Oh, yeah. Dang it. We gotta undo that. And this show was like, no, it's funny, though. And it's shit. I hate this.
Tyler, if you keep this up, you're gonna get coal under your tree.
Well, I think someone's shitting in your stocking already there, but...
Yeah, look, this is the coal under my tree this year. This is my punishment. God has punished me for my hubris, and my work never ceases. Phil,
I am so sorry.
As the resident less Trekkie, how did this one feel? Was it a soothing balm or an angry piece of coal?
I just thought it was lazy. If anything, I'm not an Archer fan, so I've not really been exposed too much to that end of things, so I don't have that comparison there to do, but the episode was lazy, and it makes fun of itself for being that lazy. Yeah, it starts to, lean into the ludicrous behaviors that the show is exploiting.
Would you say that this show made a cow pie and wanted to eat it too?
Yeah.
So I'm going to do for Phil and people who haven't necessarily seen Archer. So the pitch behind Archer is that he is a rule-breaking alcoholic secret agent whose mom runs the agency so he can't be fired. Who a recurring joke is that he doesn't read mission briefings. So all of that is in this episode.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
And, again, that's season 1 Archer.
Yeah, the girl says that. I didn't even read the thing.
I mostly skimmed mission brief, which is literally from Archer.
Totally. Is it also a political statement about what's going on in the States?
I mean, probably.
I hate to say it, but we got nepotism. We got people not reading their daily briefs.
Sure.
Their mission briefs. I think that there's a political subtext or commentary about that, but
yeah, Star Trek and Star Wars have always been bananas political. I feel like to pretend now that it wasn't, but Star Trek had the first interracial kiss on television, and they've always been pushing that, and they're basically space communists.
Yeah.
I also want to note that 2 characters are just rewritten for this episode. Our medical science team person, her personality just has changed 60% from the previous episode.
Yep.
Her priorities no longer exist. It's all been changed for this instance. So characterization, don't care about that too much either.
Yeah. Well, here's the thing though. So we had a different writer and a different director in this episode, and clearly they don't work together from, in this bigger writer's room. So we get the cold open on the Cerritos, and it's infiltrated by trans-dimensional energy creatures. The being meets its match in Mariner, who attempts to stuff it in a tube before coaxing out of it a fancy new tricorder. It gets winnowed down to a speck. The creature still tries to loom large, but accidentally gets squashed on the uniform of Captain Freeman. Enter intro. Which, as Phil mentioned, I do like the intro. I kind of like how it kind of sets up the show in the sense of, it's unimportant in the Federation. There's a scene when there's a big fight with the Klingons and the Borg, and it kind of turns around and says, fuck that shit. So, there you go.
Yeah, the Romulan birds of prey are fighting the Borg cubes.
Klingon birds of prey.
Like, that's as Star Trek-y as I get. Yep. I know that name of that ship.
All right, so Ensign Boimler boasts to Mariner and Tandy about his newest... Tyler?
Just ignore me. Keep going.
All right. So Ensign Boimler boasts to Mariner and Tandy about his new assignment. He's playing escort to a decorated Klingon General Korin, transporting him to Accords on Talgana 4. As Boimler brushes up on his Klingon greetings, Rutherford pops out of a Jeffrey's tube, blistered yet ecstatic. He recounts spending a week inside the Cerritos doing engineering work, but his occupational life butts up against his social life as he has to choose between follow-up work and his promise that he'd watch a pulsar with Tandy. Deciding not to go back on his word, Rutherford now faces the simple task of finding a less intensive division on the ship in less than 24 hours.
Which, to be honest, there's a joke in here that I thought was hilarious every time they did it. And that is when he goes and he tells whichever division that he's in, like he's in engineering, and he goes to the head engineer who's like praising the crap out of him. And he goes, funny you talk about this, but I want to switch divisions. And then you think that it's going to be like, what the hell, and the guy's a poor reaction. But instead, yay, good for you. You're going to get new opportunities. You're going to do this. You're going to really excel and be somewhere else. And it was so Star Trek. It made me laugh.
That's cute. Yeah, that was cute.
Yeah.
All right. So, Boimler...
But as Tyler had pointed out, it's a society where you don't need to be working and whatnot. And I just think that was a funny take on it. It's exaggerated and it's stupid, but it actually was a joke that landed for me.
Right.
Oh, that was decent. His part of that subplot was okay because it was like finding a place in this world, and what you like and what you're good at aren't necessarily the same. But like, Tandy just had to ask him 2 questions.
Yeah,
and like in the previous episode, she agrees with him that doing your job well is the most important thing.
Yeah. The whole thing was just there to serve a story that they wanted to tell, and it betrayed a character. It betrayed, ultimately, spoiler alert. Ultimately, she could have just asked him, "Would it be okay if I go into a Jeffrey's tube and watch the pulsar on my iPad?"
Yeah, that's what it comes down to.
Yeah,
it was just like Jedi Fallen Order. It just invalidated itself at the end. Oh. This is what we're doing now.
All right. So we're going to move on. Boimler is, he's super happy. He's decked out in his finest dress uniform. He's throwing finger guns at engineers. His confidence falls when he sees Mariner will now be accompanying him. It doesn't help that she shows her dedication to the mission by concentrating on slurping down ramen and playing with the new blast shields. Over in engineering, Rutherford anxiously requests a transfer from his supervisor. Despite his initial intensity, Chief Engineer Billups is joyous to see his prodigy exploring another path, with the rest of engineering surprisingly cheering his name in celebration of their departing comrade. So again, that was a fun little part. I do think that, that Rutherford story, that should have been the episode, in my opinion.
That should have been the A-plot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, so Boimler initially thinks that Mariner came onto the mission to annoy him. The truth later comes out when Korin actually comes on board. The two previously worked in off-the-books Grey Ops stuff. They now have a warm reunion, engaging in a friendly fight, as Boimler tries to maintain the sanctity of Starfleet, he becomes increasingly annoyed by the general and the ensign, who soon find themselves drunk on blood wine, throwing out knives and stories of sexual conquest.
I did enjoy the joke where they go, "Where did he even get the flagons from?" Like,
Yeah.
this is where the self-depreciating humor, like the kind of making fun of yourself thing, worked for me, because I'm like, I was thinking the same thing. The character saying it's making him relatable to me. Like, I'm just like, yeah,
Yeah.
all right. He's starting to really appeal to me as in his role as pseudo protagonist, right?
Yeah. And at this point, Corin, he wants some fresh gag, and basically he gets shit plastered, and now they don't know what to do with him.
Yeah, which again, is a funny little element. It's dumb though, but it's Rick and Morty. It's Rick. He's just drunk,
Yep.
hammered, right? And I did think with the blast shields, I think they tried for a Simpsons joke there. I think they tried really hard. Bed goes up, bed goes down, and blast shields up, blast shields down, blast shields up. It just didn't, They're trying. They're really trying, everybody.
Trying so bad.
Yeah,
Yep.
It kind of hurts.
All right. So we're back on the Cerritos. Rutherford tries his first possible new career in command. Commander Ansem puts him through a holodeck simulation of several scenarios, and the results go as well as expected for the ensign. Whether it's somehow causing 105% casualties or accidentally eliminating the toddler population of the ship, it's clear the red uniform is not the path for him. Elsewhere, Boimler takes a breather in front of a giant fountain. He gets propositioned by a woman who reads his mind to know his preference for the mysterious Jammerthon. Mariner swoops in just in time to save him from the woman, who turns out to be a reptilian creature who is seducing him to lay eggs in his throat.
Did you know that books are dumb, and you're dumb if you like books or learning?
Oh man, Tyler is officially salty Tyler tonight.
Yep.
So salty about this show. Like the entire thesis is haha nerd.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
This entire show. What if
But-
rules were dumb? Haha nerd.
But they're doing it's simplistic. I agree. I'm not trying to defend this. I don't know who the target audience is. That's one thing I don't understand, the age metrics of a show like this, because Star Trek fans are generally a little bit longer in the tooth. Not always. It appeals to all generations. I get that, but this show is really aimed at kids, but not, because you've got adult themes, right? You got the Klingons like hammered. The stuff that they're dealing with is very adult-ish. Not super explicit, but it's couched in that area. But I think the theme is aimed at a kid in terms of this episode of, well, just because you follow the rule book doesn't mean, like that you're any better. Like, street smarts have a place, following the rules have a place, and this is qualifying it with extremes.
Yeah.
That's as good of a summation as I can put on this episode.
All right.
I just don't know who that lands for. Like, who hasn't figured that
But
out?
it doesn't.
It doesn't land though.
Because his entire shtick is undermined because she set it up.
Yeah.
And her setting it up means no, rules are dumb.
Yeah. But he's happy not knowing.
Ignorance
And
is bliss.
Ignorance is bliss, yeah. But she also realizes that he has value.
Yeah.
His book smarts, coupled with her street smarts or experience, combined have a positive effect for both of them.
Yeah. All right.
And
so
she's
now
obviously characterized as this wild person because it suits the story and it suits her character arc with her parental types. And it also matriculates into the whole Star Trek rules are rules. We follow process.
Except, again, that isn't so much of what Star Trek is. People make fun of it, but it's always about like the rules being vague and open to interpretation.
That's true.
Yeah.
That is true. But all
All
the
right.
toddlers died. What can I say?
So back to the bleed plot. Rutherford now takes a stab at being a medical officer. He doesn't have any bedside manners. He then gets dismissed to be part of the British security, and Lieutenant Shax welcomes him with open and very large arms. He puts Rutherford in a fighting scenario against several Borg. Rutherford's Vulcan implant is able to plan out the perfect combat strategy, showing resistance is far from futile in this case, so Rutherford has found his place as a born warrior. Again, this is the better storyline in my opinion. This goes more in hand with kind of like what if you're trying to get like a view of the lower decks and you're trying to not make a mockery of Starfleet and everything Star Trek beforehand this is a much better story point in my opinion. Like it's you trying to find your place, as Tyler and Phil talked about earlier.
I find that there's something going on with this, and that it maybe relates back to Guardians of the Galaxy and whatnot, but when you look at Drax and his literal interpretation of things and how that really resonated well with a lot of autistic people or people who live with autistic people type thing, and they understand that whole Asperger's thing where it's like the literal stuff, and it's a character trait that they try to use as an identifying process. I kind of hate it that they're doing that with the Vulcan stuff. They're couching it into a personality disorder for the guy, and they're trying to, you know what I mean? Like, it's just weird. I just, implant. I just find that maybe I'm reading too much into it. I don't know.
Yeah.
I thought Tyler would get up, like, yeah, be like reacting to that somehow, and it's like, don't.
No, you're right. There's so many other things that I'm angry about that you're right. It's so much lower on my priorities for this stuff.
Yeah, I liked him as a character, and I just found that was a weird thing that looked like it was a try hard moment for me. Like it was just them trying to accomplish something or land into a group.
Yeah.
Maybe it did, maybe it didn't. I didn't see much reaction to this. I don't hunt it down. So
I mean, this is both the lowest rated and the lowest viewed Star Trek series ever. So,
and naturally, we took it on itscanonpodcast.com.
That's how we do. All right, so making their next stop at an Andorian bar, Boimler sees another opportunity to do good. He sees what he thinks is an elder being accosted. He breaks up the action only for the elder to become a thieving shapeshifter. So he's wrong once again. Boimler gets saved from a bar brawl thanks to Mariner, who buys booze for everyone using money she stole from the taxor. Frustrated at this point, he doesn't know exactly what to do. He thinks that he's lost. He thinks that he's dumb. So he makes the joke that he's going to leave Starfleet behind and join a research asteroid and consign himself to a mysterious death.
Yeah. He's frustrated. The storytelling at this point, this was really when I started disengaging from the episode.
Yep.
I didn't care about any of it. I just didn't freaking care.
Yep. All right.
But I was more interested in Geordi. But
yeah, exactly. So
yeah.
We're going to get back to Rutherford. So Rutherford gets welcomed into the bear pack of security to an excited group of officers. He's super happy. And he's met with a lot of enthusiasm. So he's happy. He feels like he's finally home. So at this point, Boimler, because, shit isn't going well, he's ready to give up Starfleet. Him and Mariner are walking around when they have a run-in with a seedy Ferengi. Mariner shows a surprisingly naive willingness to go down a dark path with him to his ship, while Boimler is much more suspicious of his body language. At this point, he's able to expose the Ferengi as being malicious and pulls Mariner away to find their runabout parked in front of the embassy. The two quickly dump an unconscious Corin at the embassy steps, brush aside the parking tickets, and take off without looking back. So, as Tyler mentioned, you see kind of like the Ferengi back to their whatever personality you want to call it. It's kind of borderline racist, dare I say?
Critics have called it space anti-Semitism. they were originally designed to be one of the big bads, and the idea was it was going to be like a capitalism versus the communism of the Federation. It was going to be one of the plots for I can't remember which show it was, but it's from that DS9 Voyager TNG era. They were going to be like a seasonal baddie kind of thing. And then very early on, they were like, "Oh no, we created Space Jews," and they tried to back do it really quickly after that. But even season 1 of DS9 with Quark can be pretty cringy at times.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it was TNG that introduced them.
Yeah, they introduced
Yeah, I
them.
think
And then the
the
rewind.
TNG bad guy.
Yeah.
All right, so then that's it. The Ferengi situation boosted Boimler's confidence. He eagerly grabs his comm badge back. Mariner asks for discretion on her mistake, but even Boimler won't take advantage of the opportunity to dunk on her back at the ship's bar. Rutherford takes time away from the mocking to apologize to Tendi for having to miss the pulsar, but just wanting the company, she decides to watch it with him on a pad, rendering his day of job hunting completely useless. So back to kind of what Phil said, the turnaround, all of the entire episode was useless for that B plot. So at night, Mariner is chatting with the now dapper Ferengi, who tried to rob them earlier, revealing she set the entire thing up, giving Boimler a win. And that's pretty much it. So she set it up to make Boimler feel good. Does this make the space anti-Semitism any better, Tyler?
Not really. I mean, they still played into the racism, right? You still were like, we're going to make the racist joke. But it's not racist because we didn't mean it. It's like, I don't really care if in your heart of hearts you're a racist or not, if you're doing a racism.
Yeah. It's like putting blackface in there.
And again, I'm not saying this is the worst part of the episode. I'm just saying, like, they brought back a part that kind of, even people have all kind of agreed that wasn't great and we should not lean into it.
Mm-hmm. You know what it summed it up, that little scene with the girl and Geordi and him not even paying attention to her iPad.
Yeah.
Like,
It's
what the hell is the point of any of this? Like, just put a nail in it. It's done. Like, geez, don't get it. Like, it's very rare that you see a show cannibalize itself in episodes like this.
Yeah. And
it's one thing to get seasons where you find that they're against different seasons because of character arcs and whatnot, but this is contained in like 20 minutes of storytelling. They're betraying themselves.
That's exactly what I was going to say. Like, we had 20 minutes, 2 plot points. First plot point was, I'm a keener and, not following the rules is better. The second plot point is, I need to just, whatever, I guess, go with, not venture out, do what I was doing. I don't know. It just seemed very counterintuitive, very anti-Star Trek positive message type thing. Tyler, what are your final thoughts?
I hate this. I hate this so much.
And with that, Phil, how about you tell people how they can get a hold of us?
Oh, certainly. Well, as same as yesterday. If you got to hook up with Santa, you can definitely get in touch with us because Santa, he comes by all the time, especially at Boris's house. Always. But if you're actually like using the internet, then you can go to a website called www.itscanonpodcast.com. If you're on the social media type things, you can go to Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook and look us up at itscanonpodcast.com. You can email us if you have one of those email things. You can get us at show@itscanonpodcast.com. You can subscribe via Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, Google Play, Amazon. Please sign up on Amazon, leave us a review, leave us a rate, and make sure you subscribe to get notified of every single day that we're bringing out great content like this. Thank you so much for listening.
Our content is great. What we're watching might not be, but I like to think that we make it better. And we're saving our listeners time so that they don't have to watch it on this joyous time that is Christmas, which is time that is much better spent with your family than watching bullshit like Star Trek, The Lower Decks. And with that said...
Yeah, this is our gift to you.
This is our gift to you, friends. And with that said, we bid you farewell. Day 2 has come to a close. Day 3 of the 12 days of Christmas coming at you. tomorrow. Goodbye.